Welcome to the Road is Dead podcast. I'm your host, Rob Curtis. This is episode 149. Joining me remotely, we have.
Tim Strelecki, as always. Howdy,
And
folks.
not joining us today, young Leah is currently on a large aluminum bird in the sky heading down to sunnier places. Although it's not too bad out there today for us here.
No, not
We're
at all.
actually, not that anybody knows or cares, but we're recording about an hour and a half before we normally would on Thursday so that I can get out and ride my bike because I haven't been on a bike in over a week, which
Yeah.
is not a good thing.
Well,
But
that's good. You
anyway,
missed a couple. You missed a couple days of cold freeze. Those are some cold days.
I would not say that I missed them. I
Well,
was outside in
on
them.
on the bike.
True. On the bike, I missed them. But
Yeah.
yeah, so we skipped a week, namely because we had our race, and it was our
Yeah.
race week, and some other things are going on that I can touch on. But so going back, doing a real quick recap at Campton Cross because we did
hmm
not hit that one. Good, good course. I actually like how it played out. I always love that race. It's probably the only one still left in the series that's original. I think
Yeah.
it is the only one still left in the series that is original. Montrose would be a close second, maybe. Uh,
hmm
but anyway, I
Well,
digress.
Do you remember? Well, like, what? When did the series start? I was new to it. I came in like 2015,
Um,
2012, 2010.
I know that I was going to Chicago cyclocross. I was going to cyclocross races in '06,
Oh wow.
and I have pictures of Carpentersville in '06, and I was going because I was trying to learn about it, and
Hmm.
I have pictures because Andrew, who is now 19 and in college, is in a stroller. He's less than a year old
So
in
is
those
this series like
pictures.
20 years old
I
at
think
least?
so. So like
20?
even at that point, I don't know if for sure it was an actual series at that point.
I see.
I want to say that it was. So we can ask Jeff Provisor be able to tell us, but I believe that the series started in like '05 officially,
Okay.
maybe '05 or '06.
So
So
we're
yeah,
about
we would
20
be
years.
like 20 years old
Should be
this
celebrating
year.
that.
Yeah,
We
I
should be
mean we did
celebrating.
miss a year in 2020.
Yeah.
Um,
Maybe next year then.
yeah,
It's kind of a big deal. Like a lot of series, are long running series. Like they're 20 years, 20
yeah,
years plus. And it's a huge deal to keep a series going for that long.
yeah. And I believe the Campton was originally brought on by Carl and Sean Hygen
Mm,
at the time. Carl was in charge of Pactimo in the Midwest for a lot of years, and then Pactimo overall in the U.S.
hmm
For many, many years.
Nice.
They've both gone their separate ways, but you know, Rich is still pretty good friends with Carl, and he's doing real estate, I think, at this point. But they passed it on to the Kelly boys.
hmm
Um, I want to say really early on. By the time I got there, it was Rob Kelly's,
hmm
and I got to it in '08. I want to say.
So
So
they ran it for the better part of 10 years.
yeah, they had it all the way up until they moved,
Yeah.
pretty much. And even I think the first year, Rob still came back and set the
hmm
course.
Yep.
And he was there this year.
Yep.
He and Peter both showed up,
Nice.
set the course. They had a wedding, I believe, or a high school. I don't know, something.
Good little homecoming.
Yeah, they had something going on in the family, which necessitated them being in town. So, which was awesome to see them.
hmm
And that's why going out there and seeing everybody, it is a bit of a homecoming. I did dig up a picture. Maybe I'll put it on. I don't want to put it on, but I put it on as the I dug up a picture of '08 at Campton, and it's a bunch of pictures of me and the guys at the time. I was on Bicycle Heaven,
Hmm.
and I like to say I volunteered some of my time, as you should do if you have a team that's putting on a race. And I ended
Yeah.
up going and working registration. And I remember I watched that process for maybe, I don't know, 5-10 minutes before I was like, move, and jumped into it. I think Gary Bentz was working it at the time. And then I just kind of pushed him aside and was just like, I know how to do this. Can I do this? And jumped in and kind of took it over. I think I knew at that point I really wanted to run the race,
Hmm.
and but obviously never got a hold of that one.
Yeah, yeah.
But currently run by what is, I don't know if it's a formal entity anymore, but basically the guys that used to be Guaranteed Rate, which used to be
Yep.
Bicycle Heaven. So we're
Yep.
talking Eric Heuser and Matt Parody, um,
Hmm.
and good race. We started, where did we grid? We gridded in the normal location, and then we
Yeah,
headed
normal spot.
up through the woods first, and which I'm not a huge fan of that. I much prefer coming down those
You
steps in
rather
the
come
woods,
down through there?
um, just
Why?
for the obvious. What do you mean?
Hard
Why?
start?
It's it's
Well, just
it's
asking.
it's I'm thinking about how I'm saying this because
Because the race is spread out by the time you go down them as
yes,
opposed to going up them.
yeah, it's nicer seeing those steps with it more spread out
That's why you just
than.
chalk your elbows up and tell people to get the hell out of the way.
But even then, I mean, I'm trying not to case my wheels, and I'm not the best
Yeah.
up those stairs. I mean, I can admit that. It's not going to damage my ego any. Um,
Hmm.
and I've been riding them for what, 15 years. I'm no good going up them. But anyway, we went up them. And in those same photos, I found that year in '08, we put the barrier at the very top. So all of those, I remember one of the last little steps had a barricade over it. So we had to really get up and over it then. And somebody was laughing in the photos. They're like, hey, those barriers look like they're 3.5 foot tall. It's like, well, they kind of were at the time.
Mm. So that explains all your later weird barrier placement at the early editions of Woodstock that I've done.
Who
Here's
knows?
here's the worst place for the barrier. Let's put it here.
I got to say, where they went this year, I was not a big fan, but I wasn't the one that put them in there. I think I put them in like on the map, but I figured we would figure that out. But anyway, we'll talk about that when we get there.
Yeah.
But Campton was good. I after double racing the weekend before, and then going up to, um, I went up to God, what I raced on the Saturday.
Wisconsin somewhere.
Yeah, was it regionals? Have we not talked
Yeah.
since regionals? I don't think we talked since regionals. Anyway, I went up to regionals. That was a good
Kringle
course.
Cross.
That was a good course. I got the whole shot on that. That was fun because they gave out a little clay pigeon, and unbeknownst to anyone, but my family has a very long line of trap shooters that goes back at least 3 generations,
Mm.
and many, many, many state of Illinois awards from downstate. So, uh, yeah, I've shot trap a few times, but never like in a competition or anything like that. But anytime I've shot around others that do shoot for trap, they're always like, "Yeah, you should look at doing this." Which, okay, fine, cool, but not exactly a thing. But anyway, it was nice to get the little clay pigeon. I digress.
Yeah.
To take home. So, and that one was kind of one of these. I was staged on the front row. They said they had a whole shot competition that went to the start finish line. I wasn't thinking of that, but as
Hmm.
soon as they said go, I took a couple pedal strokes and I actually got a clear start because there was no one in front of me. And then I was like, I can do this. This is just like one of our regular starts. So I just started
Right.
literally clicking through gears and I was hitting gear so hard that I was like, oh, these guys behind me are probably thinking, I got a mechanical or something, so they're easing up. Maybe, I don't know. I wasn't looking behind me, and I just heard him announce that I got it. And
Nice.
later, I was talking to Steve, and Steve's like, "Dude, you got it by like 10 bike lengths. It wasn't even close."
Nice.
But then after I got that, I was like, "Oh crap! I'm up in Wisconsin. I'm in a 50 plus 4.5, and I'm in the lead. What do I do now?" And
Yeah.
surprisingly, or not surprisingly, I didn't have to worry about that for very long. I'd say probably half a lap, quarter lap, before some of the guys got around me.
Mm-hmm.
Very fitnessy kind of course, very kind of technical. I really like how they lay it out up there. I do enjoy racing that course. It is extremely hard. There is a lot of climbing to it, and yeah, I burned myself up hard on that day. But
Mm-hmm.
I haven't had any racing in me. I had the weekend before, and that was pretty much it. So went out, did Campton, and after racing as hard as I did at Campton, I was pulling buckets up from an empty well, for
Mm-hmm.
sure. And I kind of knew it was going to be that way when I went to go do the pre-ride on Saturday evening, and a couple guys were riding with me, and they're like, "Hey, let's go do a pre-ride." And as we're talking, they're just pulling away from me on stuff, and I'm just dying, and they're just still talking. I'm like, this doesn't bode well for tomorrow, and that's kind of how the race went. Um, I picked up. Oh, at the start, I do got to give a shout out to John Boggs. He knows what's coming. He lined up in front. As I rolled into the grid, I saw he was up there. I'm like, what a great wheel to be on. I'm just going to roll up behind him. It's kind of nice to be by him, know what's going on, and you
Mm-hmm.
know how it goes. And sure as shit, when they said riders ready to go, he slipped a pedal. I mean, it's one of those where you see your periphery, you see everybody move forward, and you start to move forward, and then he jukes, and kind of
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
I was
Yeah.
just like, I guess I said some stuff, but it was something along the lines of, "God damn it, John." And
Yep.
then as we started going, I forgot I had already given him shit, so I gave him shit again as we're going. I'm like, wouldn't have to pass these people if you would gotten in the goddamn pedal.
Yeah.
Um,
It happens.
so that was my start, and I kind of was like, maybe I get a bad start.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then very quickly it turned into fitness. I just didn't have it, and you know, and once you figure that out, you just kind of, okay, let's work on the tech. Let's just keep it pinned and do what
Yeah.
I can, and just try to get my lines better as I go through the day, and just get your
Mm-hmm.
head into racing whoever's around.
Right.
And did that. So I had fun with it. We had a guy, it was his first race ever. Gives you an idea how
Right.
well I was racing. It was his first race ever, and he worked hard on the very, I'd say, last 10% of the lap. On the last lap, he got around me,
Oh yeah.
and I mean, hard fought. Right after the off cambers, we do our descent, and you come into a double barrier, and then a
Mm-hmm.
gap, and then another double barrier. If anybody who is a part of that is listening, you can go fuck yourselves, because that double barrier
What's wrong with
setup,
that?
that double barrier setup, break, and then double barrier. I'm sorry, that was the worst part of the course. Uh, was it legit? Sure. Yeah. I
Yeah, it's
mean,
legit.
I can't complain about that. I'm just saying go fuck yourselves because I hated it. That's it.
You're not the only one, but if you have the
Oh
skill
no.
set, if you have the skill set, you look at
Well, I
something like
couldn't
that,
I
and you're like,
couldn't
oh
jump
yeah.
them. So now I'm off and running, and it's long enough that yeah, I absolutely had to remount.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I was able to do it. He
Mm-hmm.
passes me. We come into it, and he goes, "And now is when I give it all back to you." And I was like, "Why?" And he goes, "Because I can't get over these." And I was like, "Whatever, man." And so I went by, got back on the bike and everything. I figured he'd come flying around me. The guy still had a lot of power. Never saw
Uh-huh.
him again. And then we got to talking a little bit after the race because we were having fun where we were. And I was racing my buddy Andy Sauter, who I had gotten past, and I was like, "Dear God, I hope he doesn't beat me." And I was giving
Mm-hmm.
everything that I could just to make sure he didn't beat me.
Mm.
And so we were all sitting there talking at the end, and I find out it's this guy's first race. And he goes, "What, would it surprise you to learn that this is the first time I've ever raced?" I go, "Would it surprise you to learn I've been racing this course for 15 years?" And he goes, there was a video that went around, but apparently first time into those barriers, he just completely ate shit. So
Oh,
it's definitely, so I go, well, now you know what to practice, and that's
yeah,
where it starts. So
all
guy's a
of it.
cool guy. I hope he comes out. Good to see you again, so say
Yeah,
hi.
nice.
But that was Campton. Apart from that, it was a lot of fun being out there. Good atmosphere, good people. Beautiful day. Towards the end of the day, sky was just gorgeous. Some good pictures from that. And then the teardown, and then we're on to our race week. And
Hmm.
I'll just say that Monday was weird, and I think I had a feeling I was just like I'm slaughtered from racing those 2 days,
Hmm.
and I just felt really kind of under in a ditch, kind of physically and a
Yeah,
bit
that makes sense.
mentally. I couldn't really function well. Got to Tuesday, and it was really weird. Um, but that morning, I was making plans with the guys for doing an abbreviated Tuesday night ride because I'm like, I feel off, but maybe I want
Right.
to ride like a shorter ride. By halfway through the day, I was sitting there just shivering um, in the shop, uh,
Hmm.
putting on every coat that I could, and literal teeth clacking. I was shivering that bad, and I'm like, this is a
Hmm.
fever. I went and I grabbed a couple Tylenol, and even then it stayed on. And I got in the car, went home, and I didn't see the shot for another few days. So I was at home in bed with a massive fever for 2 days straight on our race week, and I was completely freaking out because I didn't know what I was going to do.
Yeah.
Because I was like non-functional. People would call me and I just hang up because I couldn't even think to talk. That's kind of where I was. And the last time I had been like that, honestly, was during COVID in 2020. So I was like, I hope to God this isn't the same. I hope I'm not
Hmm.
out for 10 days. I can't do
Yeah.
this. But luckily, it was bad the first 2 days. Third day was setup day, I want to say. Maybe that was, I don't know. But Friday was setup day. I
Hmm.
got myself together enough to get to the shop. I finished gluing tubulars that I had started on Monday, and got them all mounted. Anthony and Leah got everything loaded up to haul out to the course, and rode out there. And I was like, there's no way I can set this course. And then, as well as I do, if you're watching other people try to do it, it's just like, I don't care how bad I feel, just get the hell out of the way. And let me just hand me steaks and let me steak stuff because I can do it. We can get done with this in like an hour and a half, and watching you
Hmm.
guys stare at each other isn't going to make me feel any better. So let's just do it and get it done. So I staked my whole side of the course. You staked yours,
Hmm.
um, and then I had to help interpret some of it for them for tape for getting it done. But luckily,
Yeah.
everybody stepped up and got the woods done, so I didn't have to trudge over there. But
Oh yeah. We
I think we
switched it.
did a hell of a course. I mean, out of
Yeah.
all of them, I'd say it's probably one of the best courses we've ever put together.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. Just we went out that one day and had some things cooking in my brain. I had before we had gone out to the course, I printed out an overhead view of the whole bowl section and
Yeah,
kind of, penciled in lightly what I wanted to do, shared that with you, but then we went out there and then could get a better feel for what I wanted to do out there in that section. And then, it's cool to watch it come to life when you actually start to build it. You have to make a few tweaks because, you realize the topography and certain things are better than others and flows different than you had perceived it. So you got to make some adjustments. But for the most part, it was pretty spot on. I think it was pretty good.
yeah. To give people an idea, kind of when Tim says we go up there and we take a look, it's more of a it's for me that the visit up there has a couple purposes. One, to make sure that nothing structurally has changed about the park in terms of logistics. Anything that's going to prevent us from doing kind of what we have in mind. Number two, I get a general flow. It's like, okay, we're going to have the start finish here. And then there's some stuff like you and I talk through when you're like, well, why
Yeah.
can't we do that? And it's like, well, because we got to go all this direction. We got to take the high line all the way out. We got to take the low line all the way back because we have no crossover or flyover. So we can't double back on ourselves, which changes your options immensely. And it's why sometimes our pits have the wrong flow to them, because it's just kind of the way it has to go. But it's just to go out there, get a good look at it. For me,
Hmm.
when I'm looking at it, I just kind of get the gist of, okay, I'm going to go to about here. I'm going to do this kind of stuff, and then I'm going to end up around here. And then the general idea is to go over there, do an in route, and come back, and I'll put some flourishes in, and then we'll hit the crossing. And that's all I've got in my head for when I go to build. I don't, so like you like to pre-plan and draw it out. That's not what I want at all. I want to read it as it is on the day, and then as I start staking it, start going, nah, that's not going to work, or you know what we should do, and I change it as I see it. But the one thing, there's one feature that I know you and I were both standing there at the bottom by the pond, and we were looking up, and we both just kind of went, let's just hit this huge climb that goes straight up to the very top, and let's just go all the way there. That climb ended up killing a lot of people. A
I
lot of
thought
people.
I thought when I was raking that and I was on Saturday morning before it started, I looked at it and I was like, I think we wanted more of this to be on a little bit of a softer angle, not necessarily straight up, but
Oh,
whatever.
I wanted to go straight up. I absolutely wanted to go straight up, but it's because of it. It was the kind of thing where I had riders tell me afterwards they were trying to see every lap how much further they could get up before they had to jump off and run. So it was a bit of a run up for most riders. I wouldn't say all. I mean, some of the light guys, like the Kurth kids, were able to ride the whole thing easily. Um, but that became a bit of a feature. The off camber by the pond rode way better than I thought it was going to ride. It looked beautiful, but one of those things. Everyone had shit tons of compliments on your section of the course.
Yeah.
Um, it gets, I mean, I don't know about you, it gets completely annoying when you just hear his constant stream of, oh my God, this is the best course we've had in the entire series. This is probably one of the best courses I have ever ridden. And every year you just stare at the pile of people that are in Chicago that decided not to come out. And it's just like, really? I mean, do you
Well, that's
actually like
the
cyclocross, or do you just,
it's their fault for not coming out.
no, I
Every
know,
you
I
you
know.
shouldn't feel like it gets annoying that people are complimenting you on the quality of your course. It's the only venue that offers a quality course. And this is no disrespect to anybody else, but no, another club that's putting on a race. They just don't have the topography we have, and we're
Yeah.
able to make our
Yeah.
course hard. It's no disrespect, you got to do if the park you have for your event is flat, you got to do what you got to do with it, which it's going to be completely different than what we have. And the
Yeah.
park that we have is massive. So massive that we could have probably a separate course for each day and
Oh, we
not even
could.
overlap them.
We've done it, and we could.
But
And have them
that's a
both be
lot of work.
completely legal courses.
Yeah, that's a lot of work. I think what was nice about our course this year was the fact that the the bowl section by the ball fields was a one way. So,
Yeah.
not an out on a high line and a back on a low line. I
Right.
think it works out much better, and you can create an even better track when it just goes one direction. And
Yeah.
I
More
think
run out.
that whole finish area around the ball field, that even though it's flat, putting in those couple little turns just before the flat sprint to the finish line was perfect. I think that's awesome. I think that's a way that's a proper way to finish a race,
Yep. No, I
you
agree.
know,
And
and it affords us to get more creative in the bowl section.
it was well received. And the masters first thing in the morning were like, literally, I got feedback. This is harder than Trek, and I'm like, we don't have the features of Trek. So that makes it completely different. And I really like how Trek is laid out. We don't have any flyovers, we don't have any rock walls or anything like that. But to say that it's harder than Trek, I don't know about
See,
that, but
you have to think about it. You have to think about the entirety of the Trek property and the entirety of that park,
yeah,
right? Trek doesn't hit hard in the beginning like ours hits hard.
right.
At least on day one, at least on
Yeah,
Saturday. It's a direct like gut punch on Saturday. Sunday, you get a little more grace period because you're going into the lower portion of the course. It's more flat, but I would almost support that statement that it is harder in a sense because Trek's features are just you're on one, then you're going downhill. You climb up a little flyover, then you're going downhill. Then you're on flat ground, then you're going downhill. Then you have a little uphill where, our course, it's, number one, it's not ridden in. Every year we get there, the grass is thick, it eventually gets ridden in. So it's heavy on the legs day one.
yeah.
So yeah, we don't have the features per se that Trek has, but it doesn't mean it's not as hard.
It'll be really interesting. And I've had this thought multiple times over the last few days. I'm very hesitant to say this out loud. Um,
Say it.
it would be a hell of a nationals course.
You could make it national level for
You
sure.
could absolutely, oh, it could absolutely be a UCI course, but
Yeah.
it would be a hell of a national championships.
There's no shame in putting that out in the universe.
It's there's so much money involved and so much time,
Oh
and
yeah.
and
Yeah.
at the end of the day, a big event like that, I have a feeling would do more to damage our relationship with the venue than, in other words, it would happen, and then that would probably be it for cross there.
You think
Um,
so?
I don't know.
I wouldn't think so. I would think because of all the people that would come out of town, say it got a
Yeah,
national level. Say it was nationals. You're bringing in all this money to the little town of Woodstock,
yeah, that would be interesting.
and that would more than pay for all the repairs they have to make to that ball field
Yeah,
or that park in its entirety.
yeah,
It checks all the boxes. It's got parking, it's got multiple ways in and out. It really is the
it's
ideal
a venue.
park.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
venue for it, and it's got a huge parking lot up by the aquatic center, and
Yeah.
you could have Team 10 City up there, depending on how the course laid out. Anyway,
It's not
yeah,
like we'll ever get the opportunity, but it could certainly be.
it should be jumped into consideration in some way.
For sure. You know, I think we've gotten better over the years at making it, figuring out maybe what we did wrong the year before. Not necessarily did wrong, but how we can improve and make it better. I think this year's course was really good. And my whole goal, and I don't know if you feel the same, Rob, is that when I am given the opportunity to create something, I just want to challenge people. I want people to
Yeah.
be better at the end of the weekend than they were before they even set foot on the track. Everybody that raced this weekend or raced our race both days are better bike racers on that following Monday
Oh, for
for having
sure.
survived that entire weekend with not only the terrain of the park, but the weather that came in. Saturday was a little slippery for a lot of the races. Huge windy day,
Yeah.
and the wind howls through that park. And then Sunday you had the beautiful snow, mud. It was a great day.
I was, I was sick while setting up. I still feel like I've been hit by a truck, just kind of mentally slow. But Saturday was much better. I was at least functional. Um, and rolling through that park when it was raining, when it started raining, and then the winds were kicking. Like the first few races out there, perfect, perfect weather, perfect everything, and it just kind of went downhill from there. And then that night, I was sitting in. So for day two, we were reversing directions, which actually doesn't require much on our end.
Nope.
Uh, but the course rides differently the other way. And I
Hmm.
don't know. I don't know if you would agree with this. I think you would. But both you and I designed for the direction on day one, and then we quote unquote ride it to see if it's functional for day two.
Well,
There's some spots where I'm kind of like, yeah, this will be interesting going this way. Let's open this up a little, you know.
I knew from the mistake I made last year when I was pre-riding, on Sunday, I was like, this is One Direction. I need to not screw up. I need to not screw this up for next year, meaning this year. And I pre-wrote it the Saturday direction after we taped it all out, and it was good. And then I did like 3 laps the Sunday direction, and I actually thought the Sunday direction flowed slightly better than
Oh yeah,
Saturday.
yeah,
Not
which is
too not
crazy.
not too many. There's still some work I have to do in order to make it perfect. So nothing has to be touched. But there were things that I realized throughout the course of me watching every race on Saturday that I made a mental note of, and before I left, went and made those changes
Yeah,
for
yeah,
Sunday. Like the whole part in the beginning of Saturday where you come down across the road, that whole little butterfly sanctuary area, I blew that whole widen that lane essentially so when you come down into it on Sunday by the chain link fence you had more opportunity, and I made a few other tweaks to open things up for Sunday, so
yeah,
along the way throughout the course, because I saw what was happening in the race and I remembered from what I had pre-rode in that direction for Sunday that I needed to change.
yeah. It it rode really well for Sunday.
Yeah.
Everybody kept. I mean, I did a big thing where I'm a bit of a fatalist in that I you know me, I'm doom and gloom. I try not to be, and
Mhm.
with me being as sick as I was, everyone kept talking about the weather, talking about the weather. I did the Midwestern thing of not even look. I'm not even going to look. I'm going to deal with what's right in front of me, and that's the way that it is. I looked at the wind because I wanted to know whether or not we could set tents, and then everyone kept going, "It's going to snow. It's going to snow. It's going to snow," and I'm like, "Whatever." When we left that night, um, Saturday night, I knew it was going to be really cold on Sunday, and I knew that we were probably going to get snow and ice.
Mhm.
And I decided to go to Farm and Fleet and get a couple buckets for propane. Everyone always looks at me weird. I guess we haven't done this in our tents in quite a few years, but because we haven't had it cold enough to really worry about it. But just to give maybe some other people in other areas of the country where it gets cold some ideas. But when you're running a propane heater in your tent, as the gas leaves the propane tank, it'll drop the temp in the propane tank. And propane is a gas that doesn't really like to work well when it's super cold. Um, so as the tank freezes, the pressure of the propane coming out keeps dropping and dropping and dropping to the point where it doesn't really put out much heat
Mhm.
in the heater. You don't get good flow. Like
Mhm.
the heater would be just crushing it if it had good flow, but you drop your flow. The easiest way I have looked at, there's a company that makes a blanket that you can plug in that will gently warm the propane tank. Um,
That doesn't sound good.
no, yeah, I was never a big fan of that, especially because you don't have power out there. So in
Yeah.
order to run it, it had a 12-volt option, and somebody gave me a power station that like an old one, and it's a lead acid car battery basically
Mm.
with a refit front on it for inputs and outputs. And I used that, and that never really worked.
Yeah.
So I never bothered with that, and I was just like, you can change cylinders and get it to run well for a while. Doing it
Mhm.
that way, let one warm up a little bit. The moonshiners would put the propane tank up on the actual flame itself, like on top of the burner,
Mhm.
to try to keep it warm. And that, of course, goes kaboom from time to time. So
Right.
you can't really do that. And it took me years to kind of figure it out. But I was like, you know what? It's just a thermal reservoir kind of thing. All we need to do is we need some hot water. I think we were in the coffee era, maybe, where we were making coffee, and I would take warm water from what we were doing for coffee and just kind of pour it over the tank. And I was like, you know what? So we would get buckets and fill them with water. They're metal buckets. Put them on top of our heater, and they kind of warm up like dirt soup.
Mm.
and then you move the bucket down and you take the full cylinder and you drop it in there, and
Mm.
instantly that heater will come back to life.
Gave it more
So
life. Yeah.
we haven't it hasn't been cold enough for us to really worry about it. Uh, so we're out there, and I'm like, we didn't bring our bucket, so I need a bucket,
Mm.
at least one. And we've been putting together big tents, so we needed at least two. And so I went to Farm and Fleet to get them. Here's the deal: it's not like, for those that have ever had to shop for a bucket for a propane tank, it's not an easy thing to do. Believe it or not, most buckets are sized so that propane tanks won't fit in them. You actually have to get a galvanized bushel. So it's an actual metal bushel, galvanized metal bushel, which for some strange reason, they're not cheap. They're like 28, $30 a piece for some stupid ass reason. Very strong buckets, but whatever. So I bought two of those. I bought some ice melt, went out the next morning, fill them with water. One of them doesn't hold water. It's just sitting there dripping the whole damn time. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
Get the Gorilla Tape.
I'm still pissed about that. Now it's like I got to figure out which one it is and make sure we don't take it out
Yeah.
again. But
Yeah.
yeah, so that's how you keep your propane cylinders running in a cold area. Right now, I hope there's somebody down south listening to this who's like, propane? The hell is propane for?
Right.
But if you race in a cold area, that's how to keep your shit warm. On a very basic, primitive, not expensive kind of way of doing it,
Mm-hmm.
without getting fancy with gadgets and gizmos or switching a bunch of tanks or anything else like that. And it does work. It works really well. Uh, anyway, that morning I woke up and there was a couple texts, and one was from Leah, who was like, everything, the parking lot is covered in ice and snow. So I'm sitting in the truck trying to warm up. And I'm thinking to myself, I didn't put a scraper in my car. I
Get the
better get down there
get the
and start my
credit card
car.
out.
Well, I'm like, I better start the car, at least so it's
Yeah.
warming up. I run
Yeah.
down there, I start it. I'm like, this is going to be a complete shit show. This is going to be the worst day of racing I've ever had under my name in history. And I'm still like, still sick to a degree, just so like beat up. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
thinking, how the hell am I going to make it through this day? But whatever, it's not about me. So we get out there and I park and I go down. Anthony and I, first thing we're looking at, so the big uphill that I talked about, that was kind of like a run up on day one. We were looking at it. You remember how you and I were like, yeah, let's take it all the way out by the lake,
Yeah.
and you're like, hey, have we ever dumped anybody in the pond? And I'm like, I don't think so. There's a first time for everything. And I remember we both talked about that. We were like, hey, if it happens, it happens. Well, when it's a 20-degree day, and
Yeah.
everything's covered in ice and snow, it's like, let's try to make sure it doesn't happen today.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first place Anthony and I went to go and look. And we opened up the inside turn a little bit so you could stay high if you really wanted to. And as we're standing there, there's a couple riders that come through and take a line on it. And I'm just sitting there looking around going, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Just the whole layout, the snow, how the course looked, everything. And I got to tell you, it it was, I don't want to use words like epic or any kind of crap like that, but that was probably one of the coolest cyclocross days I've ever been around in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Especially one that had my name on it, for sure. So after 17 years of that race, that's the first time it's ever had snow. Usually, for many years, we would have our race, which would be 50, 60-degree day. And then the following week, there would be snow. Well, if you look at Campton, we had a 50, 60-degree day. And then the following week, there was snow. So something about nature's schedule, we've moved 1 week up kind of in the calendar here. So I'm not exactly sure what this next week at Wheeling is going to be like, but there's been plenty of days at Wheeling where it's been snowing
Mm-hmm.
or snow on the ground. So it
Yeah.
makes for an interesting race. It was very cold. The course got better as it went. As the snow started to melt, it got
Yeah.
super slick. like greasy slick in a lot of places. And then just like I thought, because the winds were up, I was like, you know what? All this is going to dry and it's going to get super tacky and turn into hero dirt. And it sure as hell did. And made for some really good racing towards the end of the day. Those of you that came out were rewarded with probably some of the best racing and courses that you're going to be on, unless you get out to regional areas or large UCI races. It really
Yeah.
was one of the best. If you missed it, you know,
Sucks for you.
yeah, I've got zero sympathy for you. And this is a thing that comes up every year. Um, it is, I will say that it's grossly depressing to look at the big picture and go, we used to have, there's an interview that popped up that people were sharing that had me in it from 2011 where we were talking about it, and we had 500 and some odd people out there, is what I mentioned in the interview. We had maybe 200 on either day. And there were people that registered that didn't show for sure. So, in terms of actual attendance, it would rank up there with probably one of my top three in terms of the lowest number of turnout. Um,
Hmm.
we have the infrastructure, the way more infrastructure than most races do. A lot of people point that out, and it's just depressing. It's a lot of work that goes into not a lot of people showing up. Some people go,
Yeah.
well, will you not have 2 days next year? The whole point of having 2 days is to make it an easier turnaround for everybody. If you're going to make the trip out, then get a hotel room and stay for the weekend and make it into a thing for your family. So that way we get see you both days, and fighting to make that a CCC did make it a little bit better. In between the two, if you add both days together, what we in essence get is one decent day of a CCC race,
Hmm.
which makes it remotely financially viable. Um, it's everyone for years and years and years was always like, oh, these races make tons of money and they're this or
No,
that or
they don't.
whatever. Dude,
No,
I
they
mean,
don't.
at this point, we're starting to scrape where number one, the series doesn't get any money anymore.
Hmm.
It has like no sponsors.
Yeah.
Um, Combine that with what we're paying as promoters, directors to the
Yeah.
series for rental of the gear is to the point where I literally received the last box of steaks that we own as a part of
Hmm.
the CCC. I didn't open it. I did hold on to it. I just thought we needed it. Um, and a lot of these venues are a lot of these venues, these other races, I got to tell you, some of them are probably starting to think, we're really on the edge
Yeah.
of kind of
Yeah.
financially what's going on. I mean, everyone's going to keep going. I wouldn't see anybody dropping out. Everyone's going to keep going with it. But the first thing that's going to start suffering is going to be your amenities.
Yeah.
You're going to see those come down. I know our biggest bill out there is the porta potties, that and our food truck. I do pay our food truck a lot of money to be out
Hmm.
there, and everyone admits it's probably one of the best food trucks in the series.
Yeah.
So,
They are
you know,
on. They have a lot to offer, and it's always good.
dude, we showed up. Anthony and I showed up on Sunday morning, walked out there, and she just started talking to us forever. She's like, I used to
Yeah.
race cross country out here,
That's
when I was
awesome.
in high school, and I love being out here. I grew up around here, and she looks at Anthony as he walks up and she goes, I was thinking about you. I woke up thinking about you last night. And
Huh.
Anthony's just like, well, that's something
Hey.
new.
All right.
That not a lot of people have said that. Uh, but she had been thinking about a vegan option for him and ended up making this like bean or lentil like
Yeah.
stew kind of thing. And she's like, don't tell anybody because I don't have much of it, but it's for you, and maybe a couple others that you know about.
Yeah.
But and if you walk up there, I remember I walked up at one point, asked for something, they were out, and later on, they walk up and hand me something, and it's just something they made out of what they had sitting there.
That's awesome.
So, that much variety and the ability to do that, that's worth its weight in gold. So,
Yep.
um, but hey, show up and race your races. I get that weather isn't always the best and distance isn't always the best, But how many of you drive up to Wisconsin? You
Hmm.
know, I mean, this is a shorter trip than that. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's a
It's a
it's
lot,
it's disheartening, but it's not going to change anything.
it's a lot for so little.
Yeah,
It's a lot of work
yeah.
for so little return.
So you throw all this together. I was super sick. You know, putting on a race, as you know, takes it out of you completely to the
Oh yeah.
point where physically, even though I'm sick, I'm doing close to 20,000 steps a day, and
I looked at my freaking steps for Saturday. I walked 15 miles around that park.
I believe it.
15 miles
Yeah,
around that park, just making sure tape was good, making sure everything, the track was good, everyone else was good, and just throughout the course of an entire Saturday from, over the course of 12 plus hours.
yep. No, I believe it completely. And
Yeah.
I think Leah got like each day was like 25 to 28,000 steps or some
Yeah.
crap like that. Mine is much lower than that. I wasn't feeling great, so I was grabbing a lot of seats when I could.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean,
And
once you get everything up and running and figure the logistics
yeah,
out and the track gets laid, the event basically runs itself.
yeah, you're
You
just
know, you're only,
managing the exceptions.
yeah, you're only tapped in if there's a huge emergency,
Yep. So
you know?
it runs well. We've got good people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah.
I mean,
So
having a hand in the, I don't mean to cut you off, Rob, but having
no,
a hand in like designing the track and doing all that and creating something really good for the participants, it's kind of sucks that I don't get to race it. And
yeah,
I choose not to race it because I want my racing to be quality racing and working an event and setting it up and doing that and being
yeah.
on your feet. You can't
You
have a
can't do
quality
both.
race. You might do okay, but you're not going to do what you want to do, and it's really taxing on your system
I
and
will
hard
say
to recover from.
last year for me, I was able to have one of my best races of the year at our race.
Hmm.
But that was because it was the day after setup, and my race is the second race of the day. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's not. I had fatigue in me, but not an
Just
overwhelming
heavy.
amount.
Yeah.
By day two, there was no way, and I was not racing day two this year because I was sick. I hadn't been on a bike all week. There was no. I didn't even bring a bike with me up there. So of course we got all the
Yeah.
flack and bullshit of because then Anthony, I don't know what the hell Anthony did, but Anthony did something and it like blew up a leg muscle.
That's what he said.
Because he's Anthony. Um, and I say that with full love.
Always manages to find the weird, obscure object in your
Yes,
trap that'll take him
yes.
out.
He, I don't know what happened, but I mean, we were setting the grid for the race because last minute we realized we had enough fence to fence in the entire start grid.
Hmm.
And so we're like rushing to do that before the first race. And I turn and I look, and he's helping me set it. And he's all in, full kit, head to toe. And I'm
Yeah.
like, dude, just go get with the group so you can get called up. And he's like, yeah, I'm not racing. I'm like, don't stop racing just because of this. He goes, no, I really hurt myself. I'm not racing. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay. So he didn't race. I
Yeah.
didn't race. You didn't race. And we all got
No.
called out for that because it was like, of course, you guys make this hard for a year. None of you are racing. And I got to tell you, I would have given anything to race that course.
Oh, I
I
wish I
absolutely
could
would
have.
have loved it.
I wish I could
Um,
have.
so, yeah. But
So,
because of all this, I have no time on the bike. I haven't ridden since then. I haven't been on a bike since Campton. And we're recording a little bit early so that I can take advantage of some of the decent weather today and maybe get out for a few miles. Because
yeah.
theoretically, I am going to race this Sunday. I'm not going
Hmm.
to race. Saturday is the 1 year anniversary of my first victory at Camrock. First, only victory at Camrock. And I really did want to go back and race it again. I knew there was no way I was going to be able to get on the top step. I just don't have the fitness I had last year. And combined with I have some in-laws in from out of town, and I got the
Mm.
entire, you know, you've spent every weekend doing this, all
Mm,
these hours. You are going to come down and visit with my sister. Okay, yes, I'll be there. Yes,
you got
ma'am.
the riot act
Yeah, yeah.
read to you.
After
That's
20
awesome.
years, after 20, well, 24 years or whatever the hell it is,
Yeah.
it's not an issue of battles or picking sides or anything like that. That shit goes away.
Yeah.
Many years before that, you start to realize you're a unit, and
Yep.
this is what it takes. And it's not a sacrifice; it's just part of being the family. So
Right.
it's kind of like it reminds me of the same kind of feeling I got when uh, many, probably 2006. I was sitting there and one of my buddies goes, "Hey, you want to go ride on Saturday?" And I said, "I can't. I have to babysit." And he looked at me and he said, when it's your own kids, it's not called babysitting; it's called parenting.
I've heard
And
that.
I went, very valid point.
Yeah.
Point taken. I need to
Yeah.
adjust my frame of mind. So
Hmm.
same kind of feeling. It's not like a sacrifice or a duty or anything like that. It's part of what it
Right.
is.
Right.
So
Exciting.
I'll see everybody out there Sunday at Wheeling.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Yep.
toe the line. I'll say it now. Unless there's some weird weather crap or something, I'll be there. I will toe the line. I have zero thoughts of doing well, but I'm going to fight for whatever I can while I'm out there.
That's all you can do.
Yeah, you know,
That's all you can do.
I had such huge hopes for the season, and all I know is that while I'm not going to hit any of that, I'm going to be pissed as hell in a month or two if I'm sitting there on a trainer thinking about all those races I didn't do. So I'm going to go and do them. Screw it
Yeah. Yeah.
and have some fun.
Absolutely.
Speaking of which, what's on your calendar? What's coming up?
I'll be there Sunday. Open up the racing account. It's been kind of dormant for a while, so I'll be there at Wheeling. Then I'll go to the Wisconsin State Champs on the following Saturday, and
Following
then
week.
probably the Quarry. Um, yeah, that's what I'm looking at right now.
So that's a
Uh,
Saturday, Sunday, like it was last year, I think, wasn't it?
it's a double. Yeah, it's a double, and then I'm on the fence. I don't want to do Montrose, but I don't also want to not have 3 weeks of not racing in my legs before nationals because I race on my races on the last day on Sunday, and that's kind of a with the off weekend for Thanksgiving, and then you know if I skipped Montrose and then it'd be skipping again, so it's like I gotta hash that out. But I'm leaving for nationals like the Wednesday after Montrose, so it's a quick turnaround. I can
Yeah,
tell you this, if I decide to do it and the weather looks like it's going to be terrible, I'm not doing it because I don't want to rebuild my bike before nationals
yeah, yeah.
with sand
Bad
and
weather and
mud and
sand.
yeah,
Yeah.
like I don't
Y-
need that races at all.
Honestly, I would be 100% the same.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not like you. I mean, I've said what I've said about
yeah, yeah,
Montrose
yeah.
on here before.
Yep.
It is what it is.
Hmm.
As for my participation in it, we'll see. Ask
Yeah.
me the day before.
I mean, people make the decision not to go to our event. We can make the same decision and not go to theirs.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going with some of it. I did utter the phrase, while I was out there. I was like, yeah, I might look at the start list and see exactly how many people from a
Yeah.
particular area came out, and if they're not there, why would I go to
Yeah.
their race?
I mean, you always get
Not
some
like
obscure
anybody's going to miss me, but
you always get some kind of, some out-of-staters in there that are looking to fluff their point totals before nationals and get, a couple more points so their grid position's better. And these last couple races, you always see like the two to maybe five people you don't usually see or that aren't average or participants in our series because they're trying to fluff their points,
yep.
at least on the master side.
Yeah, we had a good. This reminds me, we've got somebody that's brand new. I don't want to say he's brand new. He has raced one cross race. It was many years ago, Bartlett. One of the years when it was super wet and they had that big
Mhm.
lake over by the pit. And he ended up going over the bars and ripping his derailleur off and all sorts of
Oh, that
stuff.
was a good year.
Yeah,
That was a good year.
he ended up. He goes with us on our Tuesday night ride. The guy's got a motor like you wouldn't believe. Always has. Um, Maybe not the best technical skill kind of guy.
Hmm.
So it works out very well that when our little phenom Dustin moved away, he handed off one of the bikes that he got and gave it to this guy because he's the same height. And he's been coming out and racing the last
Nice.
2 races, last 2 weekends. I can't get him to go to every race yet, but I mean, the guy is the kind of guy, same kind of story. If he can get himself off the ground, keep himself off the ground, he'll be on the podium. And he was second on Sunday, and he rolled a
Nice.
tubular. He rolled a
Oh
partially
wow.
rolled a tubular. Afterwards, he
Wow.
comes to me and he goes, you know, that tubular thing might have some benefits to it because I was able to just grab it and put it back on and then finish the race. And I was like,
You think?
that's benefit number one of a whole list, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But just to let them know that that's the curse of Dustin coming through, because
Oh
I
yeah.
looked at it and it's a set that I glued. I don't know when I glued it, probably 2 years ago, something like that, 3 years ago. But it's a set that Dustin's sets would roll. I don't know what it was with him. And then I looked at the glue, and I remember Dustin's house. He had this like he had a very, I don't want to say primitive basement, but an older style of basement where it was
Exposed brick and dripping in the corner.
not even brick, but more like that, like limestone kind of,
Yeah.
like, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, he had most of it finished, or at least painted. But it's that, you know what I mean, that feeling of that like
Mm-hmm.
stone basement
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
where it just, I don't know what it was, but I think he stored all of his wheels there, and it just like sucked all the life out of all the glue that
Mm-hmm.
he ever had. Everyone that he ever brought to me was totally dusty and looked like it was 6 years old,
Oh,
you know.
jeez. You just
And
roll it off by your hand.
yeah, yeah. And I grabbed this set and I saw it and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna have to reglue this for you. And then
Yeah.
he goes, well, what about the front? And all I did was I reached up to the front and I squeezed the tire like as hard as I could just to pull the
Came off.
sides up a little bit, and it just went crack. And I was like, "Yep, front too." I'm like, "This baby's
Oh,
done."
you don't
And he,
understand. Like you don't use your tubulars for 9 months out of the year. You gotta store them properly.
oh God, there's so much about the storage on them. I'm
You
not,
have to.
yeah, I'm not going to be here like it, because people ask me a lot. They go, well, how should I store these? Should I do this or that? I don't know, man. I mean,
Let the air out of them first.
well, the air, if they're latex, the air will go out of them
Yeah.
on their own. I just kind of let that happen. Me personally, I store them on hooks inside the shop. It sees the same humidity and temperature variations that I'm comfortable with as a human being.
Hmm.
And when that happens, they seem to go for years and years and years and years.
Yeah.
Um, you know, it's kind of like I may put a little spot together for Tread Savvy, treadsavvy.com, the place where you can go and get all of your cyclocross tires and soon to be some road and some gravel tires on their needs. And please buy up as many gravel or cross tires as you can from now until the end of the season. There's a map holiday on Challenge Tires starting on Friday. So that means I can at least advertise the discounts that I've been giving.
There you go.
So, you know, go out there and get some. And that's through, I think, the end of the year or
Mm.
December, early December. I don't remember. It's a Black Friday kind of thing or some crap. Who knows?
Black
But
Friday starts in
anyway,
July.
yeah, pretty much. Uh, but
Uh,
I was just thinking of a spot I could run for Tread Savvy where it's like, you know, if you want to know how to treat your tubulars, it's just like your pets. You know, if you're cold, they're cold. Bring them in.
yeah. Keep
You
them
know,
comfortable.
uh,
Do,
keep
do
away
not
from the
leave.
big,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
you know, keep them away from the big humidity swings. If it's
Yeah.
really dry somewhere, get it out of there. You want to leave them
Yep.
humid. This whole idea of aging them in the basement, you know, like what they used to do for tubulars in the Tour de France or whatever, cool stuff. You can do that, and you're probably going to just dry out your glue once it's glued.
Hmm.
Just store it inside. You know,
Yep.
I mean, how much money are you spending on your gear, your training, your racing, all of that? Get your shit indoors. You know,
Hmm.
um, you in some families it may have a better spot in the house than some of the kids. You know,
Yeah.
you
I
never know.
know early on in the season, my stuff was all in the garage because it's, it was warm but
It's
not
nice
hot.
out. Yeah.
And once it started turning like super hot, I brought it all inside. And now that everything's in my basement, it's comfortable.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah. You got
not
to
let your
watch the
kidneys get
humidity.
roast.
Yep. If you got a basement that sucks all the humidity out of the air, get it out of there. But
Yeah,
if yours is a normal basement, um, I do realize that all the folks listening to us down south don't even have basements. Sucks to be you.
true.
Just leave it inside.
Bottom line is just store your tubulars correctly, and if you don't know, reach out to Rob. He'll
Yeah.
he'll give you an idea.
And if you do it wrong, you'll have to reach out to me anyway.
Exactly. So it's a win-win for you, Rob.
Hey, there we go. Along with your cyclocross tires, be sure to get out to and get some buttonhole chamois cream. Buttonhole
Mhm.
chamois cream, keeping your buttonhole cared for since 2000 and I don't know 9, I think.
Mhm.
Go out and do some of that. Industry stuff. The industry is kind of in a really, 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 really weird spot right now. A lot of companies are still on the precipice of going out of business. Every day I am seeing bike shops closing up and companies closing up. Rad Power, I don't know if you're familiar with them, but it's a very, very large e-bike company.
E-bike, yeah. They go
Um,
belly up.
they're going belly up. They're in the process of it
Oh,
right
wow.
now. They have gone through something like 300 million in capital,
Wow.
and they have started cutting employees or telling them they all have to work remotely or something. I don't know. There's a bunch of stuff
Wow.
going on, and it's just a building. It's not going to reverse itself. The way some of the insiders that I'm talking to in the industry are talking, they're gone. It's just a matter of when it's official.
Mhm.
So, and they're not the only company like this. There's a lot of companies like this. We did get word during the last podcast that there was a vote to repeal the president's ability to levy worldwide uh, tariffs.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't know exactly where all that stands, but all of a sudden, there's a lot of people who were kind of in the shadows, basically going to disappear, who are now kind of acting like they're not going to disappear. I'm getting
Well,
the
that's good.
impression that there's a halt on the tariffs.
Hmm.
I do have one in port that's waiting. I don't know when it's going to show up. I have already supposedly prepaid for my taxes on it. I just don't see that happening. We'll see what happens when that comes through. But yeah, go and buy stuff if you need it because it is going to be more expensive next year. All of it.
Hmm.
So if you know you're going to need it anyway, you might as well buy it now if you have the cash on hand. That's kind of it for the industry corner. Um, any advice, skills, or anything else you'd recommend?
Skills?
I don't know, like something. I have none.
Practice them?
Yeah,
What kind of skills?
like what's your
Like
skill of the week to practice?
knife skills?
Sure.
Ar- Painting skills? I don't know. Bike skills? I don't know. Don't stop practicing your basics. You may have 10 races in your legs, but doesn't mean you should stop practicing the basics because now I feel like, and I've been victim of this myself, you build up to the season opener and you do all your practices and you do all your training of on and off the bike, and then you get into the racing and you're constantly doing it so you feel like you don't have to practice it. Well, guess
Right.
what? That when you stop practicing it, it easily gets forgotten about, and then when you have to do it again, you suck at it. So
Yep.
keep continuing to practice those mounts, those dismounts, running with your bike, shouldering your bike. If you don't like to do that, suitcasing your bike, run up the stairs, run up the hills, just get more comfortable with getting on and off the bike. And especially when the weather turns cold, getting off your bike and having to run
Whole different
exponentially hard,
dynamic.
exponentially harder when your muscles aren't firing or warm as they are in the beginning of the season when you're racing in 80 degrees or whatever. It hurts a little more. Your feet are probably cold, so your feet feel like bricks, and it's a lot harder to do it. So get out on those colder days, those days you don't want to get out and just even if you spend 45 minutes, 30 minutes to an hour just practicing the basics, just let your body know, hey, this is what it's going to feel like when I
Yep.
have to do it in a race scenario.
Well, not even just that, but when it's colder, you're wearing more gear.
Yeah,
And
you're bulkier, your hand, you lose dexterity in your hands,
I will
you
tell
know.
you, I found out rudely last year. I switched the style of tights that I was wearing or whatever last year. And
Hmm.
in a pre-ride, I discovered that that those tights like to work their way down as I ride.
Uh-huh.
So if you imagine like MC Hammer pants in the
MC
center,
Hammer crotch, I was just
you
gonna
know,
say that.
and sure enough, remounting a bike every time that nose of that saddle get caught in that
Yeah.
little hang
Yep.
down, and as you get back on the saddle, all it's doing is pulling your tights down
Pulling,
further.
yeah,
You know,
yeah, yep.
so something to keep in mind is practice maybe with the extra layers of gear on to see if everything's going to work well.
Absolutely, for sure. Like cold weather, you're gonna put hand warmers in your gloves. You're gonna put toe warmers on your toes. That adds bulk, and actually can be uncomfortable if your shoes are too tight. So the more you can familiarize yourself with these little things that you're gonna do when the weather turns earlier, the better you will be when you have to do that stuff.
Yep. And if you're on the start line and you're shivering, you're probably going to be fine in about 3 minutes.
Yeah, don't over layer. You know, little less is more. You know.
So, anything else you can think of? But we got wheeling on Sunday. Then we're going to have our forge foundry.
Yep.
What do we call it? Forge,
The quarry.
quarry,
Quarry at the
cross,
forge or whatever it's
forge
called.
at the quarry or whatever.
The
Uh,
EMC cross.
yes, which should be good as always.
Yeah.
It was funny. Yostein was talking this weekend, and he said
Hmm.
something about how we had talked about it on the podcast,
Yeah.
about it being like some of the kitschy stuff at one point in time. So it should be a pretty solid course. I'm getting the indication, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. And
Hopefully, I
I'm
won't get
curious
a
to see.
flat like I did last year.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm curious to see what he does with the stuff that's been taken out of there, the berms and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
yeah. I have full no doubt that it will be a cool
Well,
addition, whatever happens.
there was already some stuff on social media with him out there cutting the track, and that's 2 weeks away. So that,
Yeah,
I mean, it's proper.
yeah.
They
So
know.
everyone has a different approach to
Yeah.
doing courses. We just told you ours. We go out this year. We went out 1 week before the race,
Yeah.
looked it
Well,
all over, and went
the forge it's a controlled environment. He
the
can spend
forge.
time there. We can't.
Yeah, yeah, and
You
it's
know.
close to them, and
Yeah, I mean, it's a
uh,
public park. We can't say we're taking it over for 2.5 weeks. Sorry.
yeah, yeah, it's a different venue for sure. But
Yeah,
even Sycamore, I know they got out there a couple times, before the race, but not a ton. Um,
yeah,
a lot of it is, in my mind, as long as I've got the logistics of how it's going to come about in control, then we're good. If it's just designing the course and laying the course, shit, I've been doing that for 17, 20 years,
hmm,
we can always make that happen. Um, but yeah, I get how some people get super, super nervous about it. And there's some venues where there's not much you can do. It's
right.
pretty much shoehorned into what you got.
Yeah,
So I know Campton tends to run on I don't want to call it a broken record. It has a lot of the key features the same, namely because it kind of how it has to. I did like the flow this year. Um,
yeah.
I liked how it came in and out of the woods the way that it did.
Hmm.
I do like how they've separated the woods into two halves that you hit at different points of the course. So that's well done. Um,
I thought what was nice was they took it when you come past the start finish line or the finish line, they took it that usual left and then kind of hung it out there in the ball fields instead of making it like go straight through and then back up
yeah,
the gravel path. That
yeah,
was kind of nice that they were allowed to do that because I know in years past that park is very strict on what areas they can use.
yep,
So,
yeah.
they
And
do what
we used to
they
use
do.
that pavilion area for the registration on it.
I
Yeah.
remember that.
So yeah, that's pretty much it. Unless you got anything else.
No, I'm good.
All
See you
right,
at Wheeling.
everybody, get your stuff together, and we'll see you out there at Wheeling. Enjoy the ride.